Hey everyone, welcome back to Williamson Ridge Outdoors. Today we're going to be taking a look at some grease gun couplers, some locking couplers. Two of these are the cheapest I could find on Amazon, so we're going to check those out. And then we've got a couple more expensive ones, one of them also off Amazon, but then we've also got the Lock-N-Lube XL that we're going to throw in here with these to compare them to. And these are kind of all in some different price ranges. The cheapest ones that I could find on Amazon was like $18.47 or something like that. And then they go up to $29.99, which is the McNaught. This one is a little bit different style. They all actually kind of have their own little style of locking mechanism. So we're going to check those out and see which one is the best, or which one that seems to be the most versatile, and which one's the most user-friendly for the money. So our first one is going to be the McNaught. And this one right here, as you can see, the mechanism just slides back and it's spring-loaded, so it just goes back into place. I haven't really tried this too much, but I'm assuming you pull it back and you put it on your grease fitting and then let go of it, and it should lock on. And then to release it, then you would just pull it back and it should come back off. The next one we're going to take a look at is this LuMax. And this one's supposed to be rated for 15,000 PSI, which I think the McNaught is rated at either 10 or 12,000. I'll check that for you and find out for sure. But this one was only $18, I think like $18.47 off of Amazon. I don't know if I can get my camera to focus on that or not. But the mechanism to lock it on is different. This actually has like a cantilever type mechanism on it, to where it's not spring-loaded or anything. It's just you flip it forward and you flip it down, and there's no spring in it. So I'm interested to see how that's going to work, you know, when you're trying to get into a tight area or something like that, of whether you've got room to be able to flip that up. So our next one, also off Amazon, which I believe it was also $18 and something, is our AZUNO. And this one actually looks like it's a spring-loaded mechanism on it, but the barrel and stuff on this one is a whole lot larger than what the other two are. So again, I don't know how this would fit if you've got a grease zerk that's way down into a hole or something. Then this is a really fat barrel on here. But it is spring-loaded, so whenever you squeeze the handle here, then it opens the jaws up. Another thing that's kind of confusing is some of the others, when you squeeze, the jaws actually stick out towards the grease fitting, but this one, the jaws go back inside it. So to me, it seems like that would make it really hard to get to your grease fitting unless it's right out on top of a, you know, like maybe a curved surface or something. But if it's down in a hole or you know, something like that, I think this would be very hard to get into. Our next one, we've got the Lock-N-Lube XL. I've had this grease coupler for a pretty good while. So far, I like it really well. The only problem is I got the XL model where it has an extra long barrel on it, and that does tend to keep you from getting into tight places. If you have a grease fitting that is in a area where you have to come out and then your hose has to bend in a short distance, then this is just way too long to fit down in there, and a lot of times you can't get that bend in there. But they do make a shorter one than this. But I did get this one just thinking that I would use that longer, or need that longer reach more often. But I do find some grease fittings that I can't get to with it. We're going to find out of these four if there's one that kind of outshines the others. So let's get into it and kind of check these out, see how they work. Let's put them on some fittings and see how they lock on and how they perform. So I figured we'd start off with the McNaught. Since it's already on the grease gun, it kind of makes the most sense. But we just pull our mechanism back. We put it on our grease fitting and let go. And it's locked on there pretty good. There's no leaks or anything from it right there. And then to release, you just pull the mechanism back and then it pops right off. Once you've released it, it doesn't pop back on unless you release the mechanism again. It stays locked back and you have to release it to get it to lock back on. I'm gonna pull on this pretty hard and see how well it stays locked on. Wow, I'm shocked it came off, and it's supposed to lock. It actually doesn't seem to take that much force compared to just a regular lock-on type grease coupler. I'm surprised you can even pull it off. It's supposed to be locked on right there. One thing I do like about this, I mean, it seems like once you get it locked, that it does lock on, it doesn't leak, but you can still pull it off by hand. So that's kind of a little disappointing. I would have thought that you would have to release the mechanism 100% before it would come loose. You can probably see this a little bit better up here. So that clips on. But you can pull it off without having to release the mechanism. I'm not real happy about that. But when it does lock on, it's not leaking or anything like that. And then again, to get it loose, just pull the mechanism and it pops right off. I do like how easily it comes loose once you pull it. So let's go over to some harder to reach places and see if we can get into some small places like some universal joints. So let's see if we can get into this joint without having to take anything loose, just leaving it on the machine. So this thing actually has an angle on it, and it's hard to get to the grease fitting. Can't get it locked on there. That side maybe get to it there. This grease fitting right here, I can't get into it with the McNaught. It'll get to it and touch it, but it will not lock onto it because it's still at an angle that this takes up too much space to get in there to it. You can't get it on there straight enough to get it to lock on. With that being said, I don't know if any of them will lock onto that because that's a really strange angle and hard to get into. I don't know exactly how that I'll end up being able to get to that. Might be able to get to it with some different angles or something to get in there. But that one right there is a really hard fitting to get into. So we'll try the others first and then go from there and just see if there happens to be one that'll actually get in there to it and lock onto it. So here we've got the AZUNO. We put this on, so we're going to try it out. And like I say, the mechanism on this works kind of backwards from some of the others. When you squeeze the handle, it actually pulls the jaws down inside of the unit. So to me, that seems like it pulls it awfully far away from the grease zerk for it to actually get a good positive lock on it. So I don't know. We'll find out. Let's try it out. All right, so our first hurdle so far, this grease zerk is recessed back in this hole. And kind of what I was thinking, the barrel on this one is a whole lot bigger than the barrel on some of the others. And it won't even go in the hole to be able to reach to the zerk. But you can see the size and the barrel difference on these. There's a huge difference in these. So like I say, this one fits, this one does not. So if you have a lot of grease zerks that's maybe back inside a little hole or a recessed area, this may not be the one to be looking for. So let's see how it does if we get it to the grease zerk about actually getting locked on. All right, so that went on there well, and it comes off easy. So let's try it again. So again, the only thing that I see with this one is that when you push that down, you have to put this so far down in there to even get to the zerk before it'll close up on it. But it locks right on, it doesn't leak, and you can't pull it off, which is a big plus compared to the other one we just looked at, the McNaught. because it would just pop right off. And this one, I'm pulling on it really hard. It doesn't come off until you flip the lever. Again, this one's only like $18, but I've got a feeling that this one is going to have a hard time getting into universal joints and really tight places. So I went ahead and pulled this drive shaft off the mower, mainly because I was trying to get to this back universal joint. So I pulled it off. I was trying to get that at a different angle so that the grease zerk would stick up, or I could actually get one of those grease couplers on there. So I just left the drive shaft off for now, and I'm just going to try to get onto it from right here. Which I have to say, I'm surprised this one got right on it with no problem whatsoever. Again, it's extremely tight. It does not come loose. I'll have to say I'm extremely shocked. Because if you look down in there in that joint, you can actually see grease squirting out. This coupler did not lock on. You have to hold it on by hand, but it actually is putting grease into that fitting. So now we are to our LuMax, which has a cantilever type style locking mechanism on it. So we'll see how this compares. Again, the barrel on this one is a whole lot smaller than it is on the AZUNO. It's about the same as the McNaught. So we'll just kind of have to see how this does. It is really short though, so that may help us in getting those tight places like over there in that U-joint. So we're just going to flip our lever forward, put it over the grease zerk, and then close it down. And it's locked on. No leaks on that one. It is, oh, it pulled, I think I flipped the lever on it. Let's try that again. Yeah, as long as you've got that lever flipped and don't accidentally hit it, then it is locked on there. It is a good solid lock. But the cool thing is, it really comes loose easy. All you have to do is just flip it forward with your finger and it's loose. Locks on solid, flips off. There's no pulling on it or anything like it. Surprisingly, like the McNaught, even whenever you release the mechanism on it, you kind of have to pull on it still to get it to come loose. This one is all done with the mechanism itself. You can see it just come loose right there. I don't even have to pull on it. So up here on the top, easy to get to places. Man, that thing really locks on good. Now, the lever does, you can see the lever try to come loose on its own a little bit. If you shake it around, it actually does work its way loose. So if you just hold a little pressure on it, just enough, you don't have to push on it hard, you just have to keep it from moving. But you can see it's locked on, there's no leak. And then you just flip it, and it comes right off. Don't even have to pull on it. I really like the way that this one works. And this one also was one of those cheaper ones off Amazon. This one's $18, I believe. I really like this one. So here we are at our universal joint again. This one easily locks onto that. No problem, no leaks. Easily comes loose. So once again though, on the U-joint here that's really at a hard angle to get to, it will not lock on. It will go over the zerk, but you can't lock it. But if you hold pressure on it, it will put grease into the fitting or into the U-joint. So it's still usable, it's just you can't lock it on in that tight of a space. It just doesn't have the room to be able to get all the way on that fitting straight. So what I've kind of learned with these, or any of these couplers so far, if you don't have a straight shot onto the grease zerk and it's kind of at an angle, then they have a really hard time of locking on. But anytime that you've got a straight shot at it, it locks right on there. But if it's at an angle, it will not hardly lock onto it. Did I mention it's extremely hot out here today? But we're getting close. We're almost finished with this. So this is our last one. So this one is the Lock-N-Lube XL grease coupler. And as you can see, this one's spring loaded. So when you squeeze it, it automatically retracts. And if you notice, the jaws actually come out the end of the tool so that you can get a hold of a grease zerk instead of the jaws retracting inside and you having to put the tube over the zerk. That kind of proved troublesome on the other one by a little bit. So we'll see how it works out on this one. I have had this one for a while and have used it quite a bit, but this is the first time I've got to actually compare this one to any other grease coupler, so I'm kind of excited to see how this works. You think the spring-loaded is actually, you would think would be the easiest to use. But I was really liking that LuMax because it's just a little flip of a lever and it comes off with such ease and everything. I really liked it, but let's try this one out and see how it does. So to get this one to go on, all you got to do is just squeeze the handle and the jaws come out. You just put the jaws over the zerk and then let go of it. It locks on. Uh-oh, that one's leaking. There it goes. Just wasn't quite on there all the way. Sometimes that'll happen. So let's try that again and see if we can get it locked on the first time without it leaking. So we just push it on, wiggle it a little bit. No, it's still leaking. I've actually never had trouble with this leaking before and it not getting locked on. I'm surprised it's doing this right now. So I've not moved anything. The tractor's in the same exact position that it has been. This is the same grease fitting that I've been using. I'm not sure why that it's not getting on there good. Leaking again. Let's try it up here on the top. So if you go back and check out my first video that I did on this, it was a long time ago, actually when I was first starting the channel, and I really liked this grease coupler. And I've had this, so it's been over a year, and this is the one that I use all the time. And the only thing I can think of is if the seals must have just blown out for this video, because I've never had it have any trouble with it leaking or anything whenever I put it on. And I don't know why that it's not getting on there good. Yeah, see, it's leaking again. So the only thing I can think is that there's a little O-ring type seal up here in this where these jaws are at, and that seal must have worn out or blown out or something that is causing that to leak, because like I say, I've never had this do this before. It's weird how things happen on video, huh? So kind of some final thoughts on these grease gun couplers. The AZUNO, being one of the cheapest, it actually is pretty good. It feels like it's fairly good. It's heavy, but that's because there's so much to it. It's so big. And as far as it working well, it does work really well as long as you can get it into the area you're trying to grease. The Lock-N-Lube XL, it surprised me that I couldn't get it to lock on and actually put grease into the fitting. I've never had that problem before, and it must have just been a fluke for this video because it is always locked on well and sealed up and put grease in through a fitting. And I tried it on different fittings and it doesn't work on any of those either. So the only thing I can think of is if the seal in there, it needs to be rebuilt. I have had that thing for over a year and it probably just needs a new seal put in it. When you buy one new, it does come with a rebuild kit for it. I'm going to change that out and see if that fixes the problem. I like the locking mechanism, the way that it goes on, spring-loaded. You squeeze it, it goes on. You release it, it's locked. And typically it doesn't leak. In this video, it did start leaking. But anyways, the LuMax, I think I actually like it as well. So if I was trying to pick a winner between the four, I think I would pick the LuMax based on cost, and it only being $18 and something, and it fits into small places. I got it to fit on the fitting enough in that really weird angle on that U-joint to still put grease in it. It would not lock on, but at least it would still put grease in, and everywhere else it would fit, and it fit well, and it locked on, and you couldn't pull it back off until you released the lever. So I think the Lock-N-Lube XL would actually be my second choice, simply because it's more money. It's $39.99 for the XL version of it. Yes, they do a regular version that is only $29.99, so it's only $11 more than what the LuMax is. I put a link to all these down there in case you decide that you like one of these better than the other. With all that being said, it is hot out here, and it's time for me to head in. So I hope this video helps you all out. I'll put links to all these in the description below in case you decide you want to pick one of these up. So depending on your purpose, which one of these you might actually like the best. For my purpose, I think it's almost a tie between the LuMax and the Lock-N-Lube, just based on my previous experience with it. But right now, I would actually choose the LuMax simply because the price is only $18 and something. So anyways, guys, I hope this helps you out. If you have any questions or anything, leave them in the comments below. I'll be glad to answer any questions you got. If you like videos like this, make sure to click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe, and thanks for watching.